Hey up, it's Steve from that old Yorkshire geek. What's my hair doing there? Sticking out at a funny angle. Hey, where were I? Hey up, it's Steve from that old Yorkshire geek. This t-shirt looks filthy, doesn't it? It isn't. It's clean on. Honest, it is. It is. It's clean on. It looks filthy in this glaring light. Let's adjust it. Run the wrong button. There we go. There's that a bit better. Whatever. Welcome to this impromptu live news stream. It's a Star Trek news stream. I was twiddling my thumbs at home, thinking, what can I do? I thought, I know, I'll have a look, see if there's any news, and I'll do a live stream. And all the news I found was Star Trek news. I thought, I'll just do a Star Trek news stream. So that's what we're going to do. We're live on YouTube. We're also live on Rumble, I hope. Let me check. Yes, we're live on Rumble, and we should also be live on Twitch. I shall just check that. There we are. Yes, we are live on Twitch. Yes, right. Let's just check YouTube. Let me just check YouTube. This were all, very last minute, which is why I'm all, fingers and thumbs. Hey. Where are we? Right, we're in there. And come on then. Yay. We're going. We're on YouTube as well. Right. So, oh, hello. Hello, Win Grace. Oh, geez. Yes, impromptu new live stream. I just thought, what the heck? Because I didn't do me live news, my midweek news stream today. I did that yesterday because we were supposed to be going out today. But it turns out we didn't go out because he couldn't be bothered, basically. He made up some excuse, did my son, but he couldn't be bothered. So that's why I did a couple of other videos today, one for my Patreon and one for YouTube. And I thought, well, I'll do one now. Right, so let's get into this news. Right, make myself titchy. Right, I'm telling you, I'm all fingers and thumbs. I don't know what I'm doing. I've just had a fella come and cut my grass in my front garden. He's knock on the door at like 8:30 at night, or in the evening, should I say. This fella with very broken English. I know, fair enough, but, he got his message across. So he wanted to cut my grass because it needed doing, and I hadn't got round to doing it. And so I said, fair enough. So I gave him 20 quid. Well, I didn't. I said, it's 20 quid. Yes. So he brought his lawnmower, plugged it in, blew all the fuses in the house. So I switched them, well, not blew the fuses, but tripped the breakers. So put them all back. He tried it again. Well, I went again. So I thought, well, use my lawnmower. So I got my lawnmower out. So that was fine, obviously. So he used that to cut the grass. I did half the work myself. I still paid him 20 quid and sent him on his way. So that's been my evening. Anyway, enough of my nonsense. Star Trek Picard final season warps onto home video with exclusives and extras. This deluxe upcoming home video release is fortified with vitamins and iron and hours of extra features for loyal Trekkies or Trekkers. And there's a picture of that. By the way, this is from where is it? From space.com. As usual, links are in the description down below or wherever it is. And don't forget, like and subscribe and share the videos and drop a comment. Hit the notification bell if you're subscribed already. I'm also on, as I just said, I'm also live on Rumble and Twitch. And this video will go up to Spotify and Amazon Music Podcasts and Google Podcasts. I don't think Amazon and Google have video yet, but Spotify does, I think. But it does for me anyway. I don't know if it does, if you just, I don't know. Anyway, I'm also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Links in the description, as are the links to my 2 books, Silent Predator, short horror novella about big cats and stuff, and Mercury Rapids, light-hearted sci-fi action adventure about UFOs, blah-de-blah-de-blah, Amazon, etc. Right. Make it so. After a moderately, that's what it says there. After a moderately satisfying but slightly polarizing third and last season, I thought everybody liked it. I thought everybody loved season 3 of Picard. Obviously not. Paramount Plus's Star Trek Picard, the final season, is beaming directly onto home video with its Blu-ray, DVD, and limited edition Blu-ray Steelbook release on September 5th, 2023. September 5th, that's bloody ages off. I thought I was going to say next week, something. But in 2 months off, isn't it? Is it? What are we on? July, August, September. Yes, 2 months. Anyway. Hey, Windgrace says, the last month or two, people have been changing their opinion on Picard, have they? All right. I haven't been paying any attention, to be honest. But I liked season 3. It was fine. I don't think we're as good as everybody made it out to be, podcast guys, and Robert Marbinet and all them. But it was fine. I enjoyed it. It was good. It was the best season. So, obviously, which wasn't hard. But I still prefer Strange New Worlds over season 3 of Picard. I do. But that's just me. Right, where were we? Back in January 23, 2000, I don't think so. 2000? The mid 2020. Maybe he's travelled through a time warp. Star Trek Picard arrived on what was then called CBS All Access, later to be renamed Paramount Plus. Season 3 ended its own run on April 20th, 2023, with the final episode. It's been running for 23 years, of Star Trek Picard. Who knew that, Who'd have thunk it? Anyway, ended its own run on April 20th, 2023. On April 20th, that Hitler's birthday? I don't know. Anyway, with the final episode, I don't know why, that just popped in my head. With the final episode, The Last Generation, with a stellar cast of Patrick Stewart. That's doing my head in. That. What is it for? I don't know. It's annoying me. With its stellar cast of Patrick Stewart as Jean-Luc Picard, LeVar Burton as Geordie LaForge, Michael Dorn as Worf, Jonathan Frakes as Will Riker, Gates McFadden as Dr. Beverly Crusher, Michelle Hurd as Raffi Musica, Marina Sirtis as Deanna Troy, Brent Spiner as Commander Data, Ed Spillier as Jack Crusher, and Jerry Ryan as 7 of 9. And many, many more. Oh, I thought that had done then. Star Trek Picard, the final season, soon launching on home video, is packed with a voluminous amount of exclusive bonus material and special features, such as never-seen footage and revealing audio commentaries on certain episodes. A blooper reel. I hate blooper reels. I don't know why. Deleted scenes. I'm just a misery guts. And deleted scenes, featurettes exploring Picard's creation and the grand rebuilding of the Starship Enterprise D. Spoilers. And an illuminating Q&A panel discussion with key members of the series' cast and crew. And there's another picture of it. Oh, where did that come from? Oh, my goodness. Oh, cracky Moses. It is 10 past 10. Yes, it is. It is 10 past 10 at night here, by the way, in Yorkshire and the rest of the UK. Here's the official description. Hailed as thrilling and a show worth watching and celebrating, Star Trek Picard, the final season, reunites 4-time... it's not just calling it season 3. It's not the final season now, isn't it? Reunites 4-time Emmy Award nominee Sir Patrick Stewart as Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Admiral Jean-Luc Picard. And Star Trek The Next Generation crew in this final adventure where he is set on a collision course with the legacy of his past and explosive new revelations that will alter the fate of the Federation forever. Star Trek Picard, the final season, includes over 2.5 hours of special features. You get more than that on the Avatar. Okay. You get 3 hours. Whatever. Including behind-the-scenes featurettes with the cast and crew, a hilarious gag reel, and never-before-seen deleted scenes. I bet that hilarious gag reel is far from hilarious. It's just them going, talk, script, bleh, corpsing, and that'll be it, because that's all they do. In addition to the final season's impending offering on Blu-ray, DVD, and limited edition steelbook, what's that supposed to mean? Because what's in the steelbook? That's not a format, is it? Steelbook, is it? I don't know. Anyway, on September 5th, 2023, Paramount Home Entertainment will deliver Star Trek Picard, the complete series, which will be loaded with all 3 seasons of Picard. That's the only way they can get rid of them. And over 7 hours of bonus features. Then if that's still not enough, Picard to satiate fans, the 54-disc Blu-ray behemoth called Star Trek The Picard Legacy Collection arrives on October 17th. 54 bloody discs. Stuffed with 7 seasons of Star Trek The Next Generation. I've just bought them not a couple of years ago on Blu-ray. Remastered editions of Star Trek Generation, Star Trek First Contact, Star Trek Insurrection, and Star Trek Nemesis, and all 3 seasons of Star Trek Picard. Whew! Watch Star Trek Picard on Paramount Plus. And get there, watch it quick before they delete it. Because they're deleting lots of things of these streaming services recently. So there we go. So that's interesting. Obviously, I'll be getting that when it's out. Not the 54-disc one, the regular version. And not the what's that? Is that the collector's thing? Oh no, that's the 54-disc one, isn't it? That one. I'm just getting the regular Picard season 3. Well, no, they're just calling it the final season and not season 3. And they're like just hammering home to Patrick Stewart that he's not getting another season. Anyway, so there we go. So yes, I'll be getting that. I'm looking forward to that. Right, let's move on. Yeah. I forgot what buttons to press. I tell you, I'm all fingers and thumbs. I'm going to yawn again. Oh, it's very unprofessional. Oh, crikey. So, anyway, Wind Grace. Who's been saying Picard Season 3 is not good? I wonder who. Anyway. Right. Next up. Exclusive Star Trek Strange New World Season 2 clip reveals familiar original series location for Among the Lotus Eaters episode. I think that's the one that's next. That's tomorrow, isn't it? Tomorrow, actually. So I won't play it because I'll probably get a copyright strike. Knowing my luck, so I won't play it. But it's there. If you want to follow the link that's in the description for this one's from Cinema Blend. Follow the link for this and you can watch it. Right, I'm sure there's a description here. Star Trek Strange New Worlds is gathering... Oh, hang on. I've just been seeing several channels posting re-evaluation videos. All right, mixed with people like Steve Shives, like Billy Crystal's ugly brother, who have been saying it's the worst thing ever the whole time. All right, I see. Fair enough. So I can't work out Steve Shives personally, and he's entertaining enough, and he's got the gift of the gab. But I can never work out what he likes because he just seems to change. Or something you think he'll like, he hates, and I don't know. I can't work him out. But still think he's Billy Crystal's ugly brother. Right, fair enough. Where were we? Right, Star Trek Strange New Worlds is gathering the crew for another high-stakes mission, though dedicated fans won't necessarily see the location as new. The Enterprise is shipping out back to Rigel 7, a planet with a history that dates back all the way to the very beginnings of the series. Cinema Blend has a first look at the mission briefing in Among the Lotus Eaters, and who will be accompanying Anson Mounts Pike on the return trip to the iconic planet. The scene opens up with Una, she's back then, briefing Pike, Dr. Mabenga, as I proved on the podcast Discord with my clip of McCoy saying Mabenga, not Mbenga. Lahan and Ortegas on their botched mission to Rigel 7 5 years earlier. Una is, of course, referring to the mission that occurred a mere 2 weeks before the events of The Cage, which took the lives of 3 crew members and nearly killed Spock as well. Pike explained the mission failed as a result of an ambush by the Kalar. Am I pronouncing that right? Is it Kalar? I have no idea. I've never actually... Did they mention them in The Cage? Kalar? I don't know. Anyway, and there wasn't much time for them to evaluate this Bronze Age society. Unfortunately, as Una explained, Starfleet realised during a flyby that there's a distinct Delta sigil designed into the landscaping on the planet. With cultural contamination on the table, Pike must go with a small strike crew to the planet to assess the extent of the damage to this pre-warp civilization and work as best as they can to uphold the Prime Directive. The newly minted Prime Directive, I think, isn't it? I think they've just started calling it that in this. Yeah, like I said, there's like the Delta. Hang on, see if I can see it on this. I'll not play it, but see if I can find it. Yes, there we go. Is that paused? Yes. I think there's a close up. There we go. They've used, is it? I don't know. It looks like a bloody hedge maze or something, doesn't it? But they're using the Starfleet Delta in their design of their building, their palace or whatever the hell it is. But you'd think Starfleet would just say, well, we'll put a satellite in orbit just to keep an eye on them. And if anything else occurs, then we'll know there's been contamination. Otherwise, it's just a fancy pattern, isn't it, that they've decided to start using. Anyway. Right. Star Trek Strange New Worlds fans should be excited to stream this episode with their Paramount Plus subscription, especially those who have complained that Season 2 has been more focused on individual characters thus far rather than the entirety of the crew. Pike's, well, I don't know, Episode 1 were about the crew, except Pike, wasn't it? All the crew banding together to steal the Enterprise. It was cool. Enjoyed it. Pike's strike team will ensure we'll see at least some of this wonderful crew working together and, of course, trying to figure out the extent of this cultural contamination. Well, what they're going to do? It's there, isn't it? It's too late now. It's there. They're going to go and blow it with a photon torpedo. I don't bloody know. Some readers might remember that a clip from this episode was shown ahead of Season 2, and it's bad news for Erica Ortega's fans. While Ortegas is in on the mission briefing and chosen to go to Rigel 7, she's ultimately informed by Spock at the last minute she needs to stay behind and fly the Enterprise through a rough patch. That's not this bit, is it, where we see use the phasers to cut a hole in an asteroid and fly the Enterprise through? I'm not looking forward to that, because that's just bloody stupid, isn't it? Fortunately, the showrunners already assured Cinema Blend they are aware fans want more of Ortegas. Do they? I don't know. So fans shouldn't be too upset by this. It's fine, but I'm not particularly wanting more of Ortegas. In particular, I want more of Chapel. That's what I'm wanting. And to Pring. Anyway, Rigel 7 has gotten a few odds outside of its connection to the Star Trek pilot. Captain Kirk sang a song called Moon Over Rigel 7 in The Final Frontier, Star Trek 5. He didn't sing it, he just mentioned it. And the planet has appeared on screens in select episodes of Deep Space Nine and The Next Generation. Its latest mention came in Season 3 of Picard, where Riker mistakenly thought it was where the crew came up with the Myriad encryption codec. Did he? I never even noticed. While it's not exactly a strange new world, it'll be exciting to see Star Trek take Pike back to Rigel 7 and see. I wonder if they'll use the old matte painting that they had in the original series. Bet they don't. Back to Rigel 7 and see how this episode may tie to the events that preceded the very first episode of the series. I'm also excited to see Dr. Mabenga back out in the field. What happened to the original Doctor, by the way? Did we ever learn that? I forgot his name now. Anyway. Especially after seeing him kick some Klingon ass in the Season 2 premiere. Hopefully, he'll get more opportunities to show he's more than a brilliant doctor working in the sick bay. As for La'an, I hope she's up for the challenge after the wild week that brought her face-to-face with the child version of her ancestor Khan. Got another story. That's it, Dr. Boyce, yes. Dr. Boyce. Whatever happened to him? He probably retired. But face-to-face with a child version of our ancestor Khan. We've got another story about that coming up soon. Plus something that I never actually realised. It never clicked. But anyway. Will she be in top form after all the changes she witnessed that none of the crew know about? Catch the premiere of Star Trek Strange New Worlds among the Lotus Eaters on Paramount Plus Thursday, July 6th. This season has lived up to the hype promised by the cast so far. But can it keep that energy for the remaining 6 episodes? I'm sure it can. I really like Strange New Worlds. I am unapologetically a fan of it. So there. Yeah. Right. So looking forward to that. Be nice to see Rigel 7 again in all its glory. Be nice if they use the, let's say, that view that we got in the cage and the menagerie, of course. That matte painting of the castle thing. Or a version of it. That'd be nice. Anyway, let's move on. Oh, by the way, yes, we'll move on, but I've got some other information about the Rigel system, because Rigel gets mentioned quite a lot in Star Trek. So I thought I'd beam over to Memory Alpha. Is it Memory Alpha? Yes, it is. And thought we'd have a look at some information on Rigel. There we go, the Rigel system. Because I was thinking, way back in Star Trek Enterprise, Season 1, Episode 1, Broken Bow, they went to Rigel 10. And, hang on, we're still talking about Boyce. Wow, people in the old days really aged poorly. Boyce was 51. I know, I'm older than that. But it could be argued I look older than Boyce did then. Yeah, well, they'd had a hard life. They'd gone through a war, don't forget. I mean, in real life, not with the Klingons. I'm on about, in real, they were only like 20 years after the World War II, weren't they? So they'd probably seen horrors that we can only imagine. Anyway, Rigel. The Rigel system gets lots of mentions in Star Trek. We'll just read this. The Rigel system was an inhabited planetary system in the Alpha Quadrant. The system consisted of the primary Rigel. By the way, it's not to be mistaken with the actual real Rigel. There's a star in the Orion constellation called Rigel. It's one of the brightest stars in the sky. And that's actually a long way away, between like 700 and 900 light years away. But it's not that. This Rigel in Star Trek is 90 light years away. And apparently it was the first system that, or the furthest system that Starfleet had been to at the time. Anyway, the system consisted of the primary Rigel, as in the star, at least 12 planets and an asteroid belt, and was the home to the Rigel or Rigelian colonies, Mud's Women, Doomsday Machine, and Next Generation Hollow Pursuits. In the mid-23rd century, the Rigel system was part of the most densely populated section of the Milky Way galaxy, Doomsday Machine. The species living in the system include the Rigelians of Rigel 5, Journey to Babel, the similarly named Rigelians, 2 L's, like O'Neill, Star Trek the Motion Picture, the Kala, I don't know how to pronounce it, of Rigel 7, The Cage, and what we're going to see now in Strange New Worlds, and the Hill People of Rigel 4. Do you think the writers of Star Trek were just a bit lazy? Anyway, the Wolf in the Fold, sorry. By the mid-23rd century, there were also humans living in the Rigel system. Mud's Women, Shore Leave. So, was Shore Leave in the Rigel system as well? Bloody Nora. The Rigelian Hypnoid and Rigelian Ox were animal species native to the Rigel system. Mud's Passion, animated series. The Schizoid Man, TNG. Ratana trees were also from this system, DS9. Rejoined, crikey. And Domina Rigel 16, deposed ruler of the Hynerian Empire. Okay. Okay. I'm sure that means something to you, but I have no idea what you're talking about. What's that from? Is that in real life, or is that in some science fiction thing? Or is it in Star Trek? I don't know. Anyway, the Barros Inn was known to be one of the wildest bars in the system. DS9 rejoined. Rigelian chocolates and the Rigelian flame gem were other items that originated from this system, as were the diseases Rigelian fever and Rigelian Cassaba fever. By any other name, Requiem from Methuselah, Twilight, Chimera, Moon over Rigel 7 was a song with fairly simple lyrics, inspired by a natural satellite of Rigel 7, Star Trek 5, The Final Frontier. So he never got around to singing it, did he? Because they sang Row, Row, Row Your Boat instead. Or is it Farscape? Oh, no, that's the Farscape. I never got into Farscape. I've got it on my computer, acquired legally. And I've never got past the first episode. Honest, I am. I don't know why. It's just it just doesn't appeal to me, and it should do because it's space and stuff. But I think it's the puppets and stuff that put me off. They put me off to the puppets. And I've heard it gets better. Right, the substance, however the hell you pronounce that, selenium, was processed in the system for use as a catalyst in the industrial biochemical substances hollow pursuit, a coup de gramme. So here we go. The system was located less than 90 light years from the Sol system, and 2 weeks from the Vega colony at maximum cruising speed of a Constitution class heavy cruiser. Where are we? And other information. And here we go. When we first heard about it in the 22nd century, they went to Rigel 10 in the Rigel system. But it baffled me, did that? Because they said, have you ever heard, I think Archer said to Paul something, have you ever heard of a system called Rigel? And I thought, well, of course, everybody has. It's the brightest, one of the brightest stars in the sky. Obviously, they didn't mean that Rigel, they meant another one. Anyway. Farscape Season 1 is Farscape Light. Season 2 gets really bonkers, but it's not hard sci-fi at all. Maybe I'll give it a go. Again, if I get chance. Anyway, so that's a bit of information on Rigel. That's from Memory Alpha. Go look it up if you can be bothered. Right, let's move on. Oh, pardon me. What's next? Oh, speaking of Enterprise, this is from StarTrek.com. Enterprise gets weird, pregnant trip, anything flocks, and faith of the heart are just a few of the oddities that abounded on the series. Speaking of flocks, I found out today, I didn't actually realise, one of the characters we saw in the last episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, the one at the beginning where La'an's doing a personal log or security officer's log or whatever the hell you were doing. The fellow that were moaning, the crewmen that were complaining about the transporter stealing his wedding ring or something, or whatever, what a denobulan. I never actually noticed it, never realised, but it was a denobulan. The first one we've seen since, Enterprise. Right, a faith of the heart are just a few of the oddities that abound in the series. There we go. Star Trek Enterprise is rightly celebrated as the series that showed us a lot of franchise firsts, dealt with the real-world reaction to the September 11th attacks, and gave us arguably the most likeable regular guy in the quadrant, Trip Tucker, and he didn't die. At the end, spoilers, by the way, the final episode, he didn't die. That wasn't real. It was a holodeck simulation. Less discussed is just how wonderfully weird the show got from time to time. Take, for example, virtually anything to do with Dr. Phlox. Well, yeah, because denobulans are mental, aren't they? While Captain Archer represented Starfleet taking its interstellar baby steps in a pre-Federation context, the denobulan chief medical officer, as well as Vulcan science officer T'Pol, were guides from the future to aid when necessary. Yet Phlox's apothecary was in its way less high-tech than anything on Earth, or at least stranger. Why use a hypo spray when there are Edosian slugs or regular bloodworms to do the trick? We did say, I don't care. We did see the denobulans in lower decks. Brace for impact. Yes. Don't care, bloody lower decks. God. I might try and watch that again, but I'm not making any promises. I got about 3 or 4 episodes into season 1 and I couldn't watch it anymore. So maybe I'll give it another go. It's still on Amazon, isn't it? Amazon Prime, sure it is. In the UK. We'll see. Where are we? This zeal for oddity is felt throughout the series, but I've taken it upon myself. Who's upon myself? Oh, Jordan Hoffman. A girl Jordan or a boy Jordan? No idea. Or take your pick. My top 5. Right, the temporal Cold War. Right. Even just hearing that phrase packs a punch. The only reaction is, yes, go on. Unfortunately, the show maybe did stretch it out a bit far. There are 13 official episodes in the temporal Cold War arc. beginning with the pilot and wrapping up at the beginning of season 4. The more casual fan might have found themselves a little flummoxed by its intricacies. The Suliban Cabal versus the Sphere Builders come again. But the concept of a temporal accord, that thing with Sphere Builders, were they part of the temporal Cold War? Or were they just like adjacent to it? I don't know. But the concept of a temporal accord having been, because they had their own thing, didn't they? You know, their own plan of turning the Delphic expanse into, you know, like fluidic space sort of thing, didn't they? And stretching it to encompass the galaxy or whatever. Should have been species 8472, shouldn't it? Anyway, but the concept of a temporal accord having been signed in the far future, prohibiting easy time travel, and factions opposed to such a concept putting up roadblocks throughout the timeline, is absolutely fascinating. Yeah, okay. A key point about the temporal Cold War is that all of the belligerent actions our heroes must defeat, or / prevent originate from a perceived threat. God, it's bloody hard work reading this for some reason. They were a faction. Were they a faction? Oh, right, I didn't know. Because they seemed to like, in you know, from my perspective, the way I saw it, they were kind of separate. I know they were from the future and stuff, but it's like they were separate to what you know, the weird guy that talked to the Suliban. Who looked Romulan to me, you know, his silhouette, he looked Romulan, but it seemed like they were separate to that, you know, they were doing their own thing with time, but fair enough, if they were a faction of it, fair enough. Well, I'll start this again. A key point about the Temporal Cold War is that all of the belligerent actions our heroes must defeat / prevent originate from a perceived threat. The Zindi and the Nakul are, from their points of view, saving themselves, albeit by extreme measures. This is heavy stuff. The Zindi were the ones that were, you know, duped by the Sphere Builders, and the Nakul, I think, are these fellas, are they? That's the Nakul, isn't it? I think. Anyway, so there you go. Mama Trip. I hated this episode of Enterprise. Enterprise is my favourite Star Trek series, by the way. But I hate this episode. But maybe it just shows my misogyny or whatever the hell it is. Charles Trip Tucker III seems like the type of guy who might meet a lady in some port of call and perhaps woo her for the night. But that is not what happens when he meets Alan or Alan. I don't know. I think I've only watched it all the way through once, so I don't know how you pronounce stuff. A Xyrillian engineer who needs some aid with her terraphasic coils. During some downtime, she shows him around her ship and they put their fingertips in some pebbles. She seems, excuse me, seems like an odd thing to do, but go with the flow, right? This leads to an unexpected problem. Trip Tucker becomes pregnant. Comedy ensues, but there's also some great insight into our characters. Unexpected. Great title, right? Was very much a season 1 episode. Yeah, I didn't like it. As I said, I think I've only watched it once all the way through. And I didn't like this one either. Similitude. I didn't like this either. Second Trip. While on the topic of weird things happening to Trip, there's the season 3 episode Similitude, which rides into some bona fide philosophical coordinates. An accident sends Trip into a coma, and the only way to save him is for Phlox to create a mimetic symbiote, essentially a clone. From there, neural tissue can be harvested. The whole procedure will take 15 days. An infant Sim is born, and soon it is a child. What seemed like a good idea on paper soon makes everyone feel queasy, especially since the child has Trip's memories. As Sim gets older, he becomes aware of his purpose. He's somewhat defiant, but also aware of the importance of the mission. I was going to mention it's a bit like Tuvix, but they mentioned that down there. There we go. I love Similitude. It's like Tuvix, but better. No, I didn't like it. I didn't like Tuvix either. See, it's the sort of episode that makes me feel uncomfortable, and I don't want to feel uncomfortable watching Star Trek. I want to feel comfortable and in a warm blanket and stuff. That's that's what I want my Star Trek to be. I don't want to be, having weird thoughts about things. But anyway, to each their own. I forgot what I want now. There we go. He is somewhat defiant, but also aware of the importance of the mission. We aren't just seeking out new worlds here. We are trying to stop the Xindi from destroying all life on Earth. The conclusion of this episode can sit on a shelf with Star Trek Voyager's controversial 2 Vics. It might even be a little more bizarre since it is someone essentially dying to save themselves. There you go. I didn't like similitude. I didn't like it. Meet the Parents, E Squared. I like this episode. Oh, wait, I guess it's Meet the Kids. It depends on your point of view. All I can say is the episode E Squared is a real mind scrambler. Not really. Racing against time in their struggle with the Xindi, the NX-01 enters a subspace corridor, hoping for a shortcut. To their surprise, they find a souped-up version of their own ship. Turns out that they were sent back in time 117 years, at which point Captain Archer decided the best thing to do for the timeline and to make a bizarro episode of television was to wait until everything caught up with them. The Enterprise just flew around for 117 years in this bit of the Delphic Expanse. Alas, not even Phlox and his Perithian bat guano could keep them alive this long, except for T'Pol. So our crew comes face to face with their own descendants. The crews pair up after some counter moves. Apart from, oh no, I'm thinking of something else. Never mind. But will success mean the evaporation of this newly discovered timeline? Lots to think about here. When it's a pair up, or thinking of getting together. Because they talk about crewmen and women getting together. Apart from Malcolm Reed, he never got together with anybody. Right, no, they're not going to change my mind. If you've never been at a Star Trek convention after hours, then you've never experienced it. Faith of the Heart, the controversial theme song from Enterprise, is, under normal conditions, something of an embarrassment. No, it ain't. It's good. I like it. A bit of Russell Watson. But in the right context, together within the circle of trust, and oftentimes after a few drinks, it becomes the most cherished melody anyone can think of. And suddenly all are singing along. I won't. Though whatever else happens in the Faith of the Heart Club stays in the Faith of the Heart Club. We'll never quite know what inspired the producers to take a Diane Warren-penned tune recorded by Rod Stewart for the movie Patch Adams and alter it for Star Trek Enterprise. The official title is Where My Heart Will Take Me, but some things are better left a mystery. Well, it's all that it's a long road getting from there to here. It's the lyrics in it that he obviously liked. Russell Watson's vocals and the clean production, crisp cymbals, emotive violins really do grow on you after a while. I kid you not. Remember, drinks help. The only thing weirder is the shredding guitar licks in the closing credits Archer's theme. 4 seasons of television offers a lot of opportunities to get strange. This article was originally published in 2019. Tusk. Yeah, I like the Enterprise theme. Nothing wrong with it, I don't think. And I like the opening credits as well, showing all the, the different, showing man's progress, from sailing ships up to the NX-01. I think it's cool. And if anybody thinks it's not cool, then they're wrong, in my opinion. Right. Next. What's next? We're talking about Spock now. That's what we're doing. Star Trek Spock's life that's the name of your next series, Star Trek Spock. Spock's life after the Enterprise is surprisingly tragic. Mr. Spock, not Dr. Spock. I hate it when people call him Dr. Spock. It does me head in. He's not an expert on, child psychology or whatever the hell Dr. Spock was. Enterprise seems like a mini museum exhibit in and of itself. Yes, it is. We see the sailing ships and we see the space shuttle Enterprise. We see Alan Shepard, don't we? And landing on the moon and the first colonies and the space station getting bigger than it ever will get and all that. It's cool. And even cooler is the In the Mirror Darkly. Opening credits where it's all going wrong and things are blowing up and all that stuff. It's cool. Anyway, Mr. Spock is one of Star Trek's most iconic characters, if not Star Trek's most iconic character, to be honest. But his life after the Enterprise was marked by disapproval and unfulfilled dreams, right? Mr. Spock is an iconic figure in the Star Trek universe, and yet his career after the Enterprise has been surprisingly tragic. Spock served in Starfleet, becoming one of its most decorated officers and later following his father into being a diplomat. Yet, as revealed in the Star Trek Countdown miniseries, which reminds me, hang on, let me get out of this a minute. Get out of this a minute. That reminds me, I need to find that. Did it. Just bear with me. I don't actually know where I've put it. It might be in my other account. Can I switch that or will it make everything go wrong? I don't know. Did it? Your videos. I'm trying to find something. I did the Star Trek Countdown comic as a whatchamacallit, like a, what do they call them now? A motion comic sort of thing. Very amateurish, but I was quite pleased with it. Where did I put it? I thought I'd done a new version. I thought I'd uploaded a new version of it. Have I not? Hang on, I'll type it in. Search across your channel. Just bear with me. Right. Oh, it's not in there. Right, okay. I'll try this. There we go. That's not the one I'm thinking of. We might have to do. Maybe I didn't re-upload it. I thought I'd re-uploaded it. Video link. Yes, that's the one. Right. We're over there. Right. Right, we'll get back to that. Right. Where were we? Hang on. Star Trek Picard rendered the countdown non-canonical. Yeah, it did, didn't it? Yeah, because it changed it all, didn't it? Because obviously in Countdown, Data became captain of the Enterprise E, didn't it? But obviously that didn't happen in Picard. But it's another timeline. As I keep saying, Star Trek happens over many timelines, many branches. Take your pick. But anyway. Right, where were we? Right. Where were we? Yet as revealed in the Star Trek Countdown miniseries, which served as the official prequel to 2009 Star Trek, Spock's actions in his later years were not viewed favourably, especially by his fellow Vulcans. And speaking of the Star Trek Countdown, here it is. I've got it here, look. It's on... I'll put the link in the description. I haven't actually, I'll put it here. Where are we? I'll put it in the chat. Where are we? There we go. There we go. There we go. I don't know if that'll work or not. I don't know. But that's the link to it. It's on my other YouTube channel. I thought I'd uploaded it to me. I might have done. I might have uploaded it to me, that old Yorkshire Geek channel, and not realised. But all forgotten. But it's on my Mercury Rapids YouTube channel. I'll show another bit. There we go. There you go. Etc. There we go. Stuff like that. There we go. No voice acting. It's just music. But actually, I did it to Star Trek music and re-uploaded it. Anyway, Spock has called the Enterprise his home for much of his Starfleet career, having served under both Captains Pike and Kirk as an outcast in Vulcan society due to his half-human heritage. Say that 3 times quickly, or once. Spock found his calling in Starfleet. At home on neither Vulcan nor Earth, the restless nature of life in space seemed appealing. Spock's decision to enter Starfleet was met with opposition by his father, the Vulcan ambassador Sarek, driving a wedge between the two, and it was over a decade before they spoke again. let alone reconciled. After his time in Starfleet drew to a close, Spock followed in his father's footsteps, becoming a prominent diplomat in his own right. By the late 24th century, Spock had begun working towards the reunification of the Vulcans and the Romulans, but as seen in Star Trek Countdown #2, he paid a price for this dream with his cowboy diplomacy. Spock gained and then lost Vulcan's approval, and there's, from the Countdown comic, which is actually quite good. It's better than the bloody film that came after it, to be honest. The issue was written by Mike Johnson and Tim Jones, working from a story by Roberto Orsi, is that how you pronounce it? I don't know, and Alex Bleeding Kurtzman, and drawn by David Messina. A supernova-induced chain reaction threatens every star system in the galaxy. Still don't understand how that worked. The Hobus star system went supernova and threatened, everything. And the Romulan homeworld is next. Spock has devised a solution, but the final component needed, red matter, can only be found on Vulcan. Spock, Nero, and Captain Data of the Enterprise head to Vulcan, but Spock gets a chilly reception. The trio are greeted at first by a delegation of Vulcans, the head of which tells Spock he is not getting a hero's welcome. Spock brushes it off, saying he's aware of the Senate's opinion of him, to which the head delegate replies all of Vulcan views Spock with distrust. While in Starfleet, Spock brought great glory to the planet, but his decision to relocate towards Romulus and work towards reunification alienated his people. 2009 Star Trek film depicted Spock as being bullied as a child by his classmates because he was half human. We also saw that in the animated series, by the way, in the episode, I forgot the name of the episode, Yesterday's Sun or something like that. I can't remember the call it now. Anyway, the one written by me and bloody names. No, it's gone. Never mind. This outsider status carried over well into his adulthood, but eventually his heroism helped to earn him a positive reputation. Spock's diplomatic career was one of immense highs as well, which boosted his image even more. However, Spock was officially declared an enemy of the Federation for stealing the Defiant along with Worf in order to stop Emperor Kahless II, as shown in Christopher Cantwell and Angel Unzueta's Star Trek Defiant #1, complicating his legacy. Obviously, all this is non-canonical, by the way. Was it the Infinite Vulcan, or am I mixing it up? No, that Infinite Vulcan one where they were right tall. That was the one written by Walter Koenig, the Infinite Vulcan. This was the one where it showed him as a child. Spock went back in time using the Guardian of Forever to his own childhood, and he basically had to save himself because it did the rite of Kazwoon, or whatever the hell they called it. And his Saylat was killed because some other creature attacked him, and he basically saved himself. He passed himself off as a distant relative. I can't remember the name of the bloody woman that wrote it. She wrote loads of Star Trek stuff, and I forgot her name now. She wrote a super famous script. I think it was like a script editor in the original series. No, tell you me and bloody names. Anyway, as I was saying, all this here is it's all non-canonical because it's from like comics and stuff. Anyway, the Vulcans similarly abandoned their high opinion of Spock, and in his later years, he was once again greeted with suspicion and even hate. Of course, Spock was a true hero, and he pursued causes based on their merits, not on how he'd be seen. However, he truly never got the respect he was due. I'm not going to mention his bringing the Klingons into the force. Not mentioning Star Trek 6, is it? He got some grief off Kirk for that, didn't he? Spock's later life took a tragic direction, even as he pursued Romulan-Vulcan reunification as his grand dream. Just as Spock was perhaps about to achieve a career-defining breakthrough, he slipped in the eyes of his people, and shortly after the events of this issue, Spock was thrown back in time, helping create the Kelvin timeline. Stranded in this new universe, Spock was once again an outcast, one who was doomed to never see his life's work through, making him one of Star Trek's most tragic figures. I don't know, he wasn't really an outcast, was he, in Star Trek, '09 and in Into Darkness, because it went to help the Vulcans, didn't it? The Vulcans became an endangered species, didn't they? But anyway, yeah, very interesting. I wish I could remember the name. What's a bloody? I'm gonna have to look it up. I'm gonna have to look it up. Hey, Star Trek animated series. Here we go. Episodes. Yesteryear. That's it. Yesteryear. DC Fontana. Yes, Dorothy Fontana. But the episode was called Yesteryear. Glad I've sorted that out. Right. Next up. What are we on? That's that one. There we go. Right. This should be fun. The Star Trek economy explained. I don't think even they know how it works in Star Trek, because it's kind of baffling. Even the most casual Star Trek fans eventually end up asking plenty of questions about how the future economy is supposed to work. In many different ways is the answer. This is a world where replicators can make almost anything, but whether Starfleet members get paid or not changes based on which particular movie or episode you happen to be watching on Paramount Plus. But since we don't believe in the no-win scenario around here on Giant Freaking Robot, we're going to try to do the impossible, explain once and for all how the hell the Star Trek economy is supposed to work. As we alluded to before, the biggest question regarding Star Trek's economy is whether Starfleet members are paid in the traditional sense, and if so, exactly what money means. I mean, from my understanding, it's kind of a what they call it, a resource-based economy. Is it like this Project Venus that fellow wanted to set up, where nobody gets paid, but everybody, gets whatever they need, to live in, comfortably. It's that sort of thing, isn't it? Anyway, and everybody does the jobs, that need to be done in a rotating basis. In the original series, Captain Kirk claims that he is authorised to pay some miners for their dilithium, and in the movie The Undiscovered Country, Scotty casually mentions buying a boat. I did, didn't he? I just bought a boat. 2 movies after, Kirk himself scornfully notes that in the 20th century they're still using money. Yeah, he didn't get much for his. He get $100, didn't he, for his glasses? So he said, "That's all there is. So don't splurge," he said. In other words, the Star Trek economy has been very contradictory for a very long time, but several theories have emerged over the years to explain it. For example, despite earlier exceptions to this rule, it's clear that the Federation doesn't use money as we understand it. One theory holds that in a future where everyone has access to a replicator, the closest analogue to our modern currency is that everyone gets a certain energy allotment from the Federation. I don't know. I'd be dead. I'd be dead within a month of having a replicator. I'd just be eating that doner kebabs all the time. Oh, dear. For example, hang on, no, I've just said that bit. The idea here is that everyone regularly gets more than enough energy to safely and happily live on, and they can replicate meals, clothing, whatever else they need for the rest of their lives without having to work, which is fair enough. But even though everyone gets more than enough for themselves, there must be some kind of limits in place for individual use. That's why in Star Trek we constantly see characters replicating food and drink, but we never see random characters do things like replicate a fleet of starships, because they have industrial replicators for stuff like that. Well, for large components and stuff. If Star Trek's economy works this way, then Starfleet members and Federation citizens could be incentivized to work various jobs by getting an increase in their energy allotment. This goes hand in hand with another theory. In a future where all your economic needs are taken care of, the main thing individuals might compete over is personal prestige. It's still considered prestigious to become captain of a starship, not because you get a huge salary, but because the position is a manifestation of both your talent and your ambition. Well, he said that, didn't he, in Star Trek First Contact, saying, we strive to better ourselves and humanity as a whole. But somebody's still got to plunge the toilets, haven't they, every now and again. But as I said, you think that, there wouldn't be just one person that's got to do that all the time. On a rotating basis, everybody would have a go at plunging the toilets at some point. Anyway, one issue with Star Trek's economy that has never been fully explained is that private property still exists. Picard, for example, has a sprawling chateau that has been in his family for generations, and Raffi throws this in his face by comparing his grand estate with her own hovel, which looks for all the world like a futuristic mobile home. Yeah, but that was Picard season 1, which was stupid. And the writers didn't understand Star Trek. The implicit answer seems to be that some characters may inherit private property, and what they inherit may be bigger and more impressive than what the Federation provides the average citizen, who, it should be noted, still receive a completely free home. Is still receiving, a completely free home. By far the prickliest concept. This is supposedly they've moved on from owning things. Well, he says, doesn't it? The Picard says in First Contact. The acquisition of wealth and things is not something they aspire to anymore. Oh dear, sorry, I'm very hoarse and dry. But it's something a lot of people, in this day and age, struggle to get their heads around. It seems, not having your own thing, not having things, and some may argue. I'm going to put my conspiracy theory hat on now, my tinfoil hat. That the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, and all those. There's a thing going around about I forgot to call it now. It's not a conspiracy theory because it's out there. It's an actual document and stuff like that. That basically. We're not going to own anything, in the not too distant future. We're going to own nothing, and we're going to love it. We're going to basically rent everything or be allotted things for a certain length of time. And we're kind of moving that way now, aren't we? With like phones, nobody owns a phone really. You get a phone on a contract, don't you, for like whatever 2 years or whatever, and then you basically throw that one away and get another one, don't you? Continue contract. Same with cars and houses and stuff. And washing machines, even doing it with bicycles now. Anyway, Windgrace is talking about Raffi. Raffi shouldn't complain. She was living on the freaking Vasquez rocks. Yeah, she was. But every other week there was somebody having a fight or something there. And, a film crew were there doing some, alien planet. Yes, Picard season 1 was stupid. I forgot what I was talking about now. Anyway, have I said that one? By far the prickliest concept of the Star Trek economy is that characters frequently mention credits, and it's never been clear whether that is completely analogous to our own concept of currency, which would fly in the face of the notion that the Federation doesn't use money. But there's got to be some sort of give and take, I suppose. There's got to be something. There's got to be some incentive, haven't there, for people to do things, or nobody would do anything unless they're just completely public spirited. But not everybody is there? Well, not today anyway. But as I said, we haven't lived through World War III, have we? And so I suppose that kind of gave the people of Earth a kick up the kick in the pants, didn't it? The World War III and the Vulcans arriving. And within 50 years, we'd turned the Earth into a paradise. A compelling theory by Rick Webb, whoever he is, God knows. Rick Webb, medium.com, the economics, pardon me, of Star Trek. I'm just reading the link. Good heavens. I'm struggling. A compelling theory by Rick Webb states that this is likely a third-party currency created outside the Federation to make various trade deals easier to manage. This would explain why Quark can choose to accept Federation credits alongside more tangible non-Federation currency such as gold-pressed latinum. Yeah, well, let's say we're going to sell Harry Kim some low-buy crystals or whatever they were. In Voyager, the Voyager pilot caretaker, wasn't it, on Deep Space Nine? If these credits were made by a third party, though, then how would your average Starfleet citizen get a hold of them? I imagine, particularly Starfleet officers, that were going to come into contact. Yes, Fedcoin crypto, yeah. Yeah. I imagine a Starfleet officer, though, that they expect to go out and meet other cultures. If they're ever going to, interact with a culture that still uses some form of currency or has made some sort of trade deal with the Federation, that they'd have the allot that person. He has so many credits that you'll have to, you'll have to exchange these for goods with these people. Like if you go to Deep Space Nine, they probably give them some money to spend at Quarks or wherever on the promenade. And I'm surprised they didn't do a story about it with like Starfleet officers or Federation citizens in general. Like, I don't know what to do. Is this enough? Because that'd be me. Like me today with this fella. Well, cutting me grass. He says, how much? How, in his broken English, how much? And I was like, I don't know. I've never had anybody cut me grass before. 20? And he went, shook me hand, and I don't know. Right, where were we? If these, I don't know if I've read this, but I'll read it again anyway. If these credits were made by a third party, though, then how would your average Starfleet citizen get a hold of them? Webb contends that much of Star Trek's economy is held together by a barter system in which Federation citizens can trade for various things they really need, which might include said credits. It's up to individuals to decide what items are worth to them. For example, a home-cooked meal at Joseph Sisko's restaurant is likely worth more than a replicated meal, just as Chateau Picard wine is theoretically more valuable than replicated wine. We say theoretically because everyone seems to hate the taste. Yeah. Yes, don't forget the eugenics wars. They lived through that as well. Yes, they did. Yes. But it's been pushed back, forward, whatever. It's been delayed, hasn't it, now? It's not in the 90s anymore. It's in the middle of the 21st century, which is fine. Anyway, the final question about Star Trek's economy then is what Starfleet officers do when they are given outside currency such as gold-pressed latinum, something that seems to happen often on Deep Space Nine. By the way, gold-pressed latinum is like supposed to be this super complicated thing that can't be replicated. There's an explanation for it probably on Memory Alpha. It's like, is latinum like the liquid inside the gold or something like that? Anyway, it can't be replicated apparently. Anyway, Webb's theory holds that this just becomes part of the barter system. An officer with latinum to burn could go spend it on one of Quark's holosuites, but he could also, but he could have also paid for his time with Federation credits. If the Federation receives third-party currency as part of a trade, it simply becomes part of the futuristic foreign reserve, just as modern nations often have stockpiles of foreign currency. Obviously, our look at the Star Trek economy is focused entirely on how things work in Starfleet and the Federation. Alien races like the Ferengi still operate through naked capitalism and naked females, apart from Moogie. And many of our theories about Federation credits and economic attitudes stem from seeing how the post-scarcity Starfleet officers deal with other cultures that still highly regard money. Well, there was that other Ferengi female as well, wasn't there, that were right good at business. But I forgot her name. But considering that modern humanity looks a lot more like the Ferengi than the Federation, no, they were based on Yankee traders or something. I forgot what they called them now. Way back in the Last Outpost. Anyway, dealing under the motto of what was it, caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. But we were supposed to be scared of the Ferengi, and then they just turned them into comedy aliens, didn't they? Anyway, but considering that modern humanity looks a lot more like the Ferengi than the Federation, it's clear that we still have a very long way to go before we can traipse without worries about money throughout the cosmos. Is that it? Oh, there we go. Yes, it is. So that basically an article about nothing, because we're still none the wiser about how how the economy, the Star Trek economy, not really explained. It should have been called. Anyway, whatever. Let's move on. We're getting there. We're getting there. Right, Khan. It's about Khan now, which I never twigged when I watched the episode. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. It never twigged. But Khan is Canadian. What's behind Strange New World's weird Star Trek change? I said it never twigged. I said they're in Toronto, aren't they? So obviously, he's Canadian. Strange New Worlds has changed the timeline and Khan's creation, oddly making the genetically engineered future tyrant Canadian. Eh? Eh? Hey. So imagine Ricardo Montalban with a Canadian accent. But say, what's all this about? Anyway, spoilers for that episode. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Star Trek Strange New World, Season 2, Episode 3, Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, has altered the Star Trek timeline, and a curious side effect is Khan Noonien Singh, Desmond Sivan, is now Canadian. In Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, Lieutenant Laan Noonien Singh, Christina Chong, and an alternate reality version of Captain James T. Kirk, Paul Wesley, time travelled to 21st century Toronto to stop an attack that would alter the timeline. Laan discovers the target of a Romulan assassin named Sierra Adelaide Kane was her ancestor. The target, not her, Khan, who is just a young boy. I mean, initially she was supposed to be blowing up a fusion reactor or something, but then she decided not to do that, even though she'd got into the place where it supposedly was. But she just went to kill Khan instead. Star Trek, the original series, established in the Season 1 episode Space Seed that Khan Noonien Singh, Ricardo Montalban, and his genetically engineered followers fled Earth. Were they genetically engineered, though, or were it selective breeding? Like, eugenics is like selective breeding, isn't it, rather than genetically engineering. But it did say, though, wasn't it? I don't know. Yeah, it does say himself is genetically engineered, doesn't he? I think in Star Trek, in The Wrath of Khan, I think. Yeah. It was only my genetically engineered intellect that allowed us to survive. Yes, it says that, doesn't it? Anyway, and his genetically engineered followers fled Earth in 1996 aboard the SS Botany Bay. I think I said in another video that one of the novels, the Reeve Stevens novels, I can't remember the name of it, but it was like a sequel to Little Green Men, the DS9 episode, and the Ferengi shuttle that I think were left on Earth, I think, in that episode. The Ferengi shuttle were taken to like Area 51 or whatever, and then back engineered, and that became the SS Botany Bay or parts of it or whatever. And Khan stole that to get to space in 1996. Anyway, a product of eugenics, Khan came to rule a quarter of the Earth before the eugenics wars of 92 to 96 overthrew him. Well, so what, a quarter of the Earth? The British Empire ruled a quarter of the Earth for quite a while. Just saying. According to Star Trek Into Darkness, Khan, Benedict Cumberbatch, was created by a selective breeding program in 1959. This would also hold in prime timeline canon as well, since Khan's history predates the creation of the alternate Kelvin timeline in 2230, as established by J.J. Abrams' Star Trek 2009 movie. But Benedict Cumberbatch didn't quite have Ricardo Montalban's complexion, did he? Since he was supposed to be, South Asian, of Indian descent or whatever, wasn't he? Paler than me. And I look like one of the aliens off Cocoon. But anyway. I forgot where I was now. Khan's origins are also suspected to be Sikh from the northern region of India, according to his future wife, Marla MacGyver's Madeline Rue. And that's the young Khan that we saw in Strange New Worlds. According to Sierra, in Star Trek Strange New Worlds, the temporal wars and various meddlings with Earth's timeline have changed the original course of history. Essentially, it's created another timeline, hasn't it, basically? Khan's creation and heyday in the 1990s has been altered by time, pushing back, and as a result, Khan has now been born in 21st century Toronto. This makes Khan Canadian, eh? Although his ethnicity appears to properly be of South Asian origin, while it's possible Khan was born in India, the fact that the Noonien Singh family owns an Institute for Cultural Advancement with a genetics lab in Toronto would indicate Khan was created there, and his country of birth is now Canada in Strange New Worlds revised Star Trek timeline. This is hammered home by drawings of the Toronto skyline on the wall in Khan's bedroom. Khan, now being Canadian, appears to at least he'll get free health care. Khan, now being Canadian, appears to be the result of production changes early in Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2. Excuse me. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow was once slated to be the Season 2 premiere of Strange New Worlds, but production of the episode was pushed back due to COVID-related reasons. So it became the third episode of Season 2 instead. There was also talk of filming Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow in New York City before the decision was made to shoot in Toronto. Is that why Kirk said it would seem to be in New York City? And then Laan said, no, we're in Toronto. And points to a sign that says Toronto. Anyway, which is where production of Strange New Worlds is based, Toronto, not New York City. Therefore, Khan missed his chance to possibly be an American who was born in New York City instead of a Toronto-born Canadian. According to Star Trek Strange New Worlds co-showrunner Akiva Goldsman, the Season 1 premiere actually already established the timeline change when Captain Christopher Pike, Anson Mount, showed Earth's World War III to the people of Kylie 279. Strange New Worlds. I always think of Jurassic Park when I see that. The voice you're hearing now is Richard Kiley. Spared no expense. Strange New Worlds Season 2, Episode 3 now confirms that Khan's creation and the eugenics wars have been pushed forward to the 21st century, which is an effort by Strange New Worlds to maintain Star Trek as an aspirational future. Wingray says season premiere would be Doom hadn't met Pellier yet. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you mean. Oh, I mean this. Oh, yes, I see what you mean. Yes. Yeah, it was going to be the season premiere. Yes, sorry. I'm miles away then. Yes. Yeah. I'm sure they fiddled it, wouldn't they? Made that encountered her on the Enterprise beforehand, I suppose. It'll have got rewritten, won't it? Anyway, aspirational future. And to make these events more relevant, however, such major changes will have ripple effects on existing movies and TV shows. Well, not really. Just forget about it, can't you? It's a new timeline. Anything goes. Hopefully, there's a greater plan in place for all of Star Trek on Paramount Plus. No, to get rid of it. Slowly removing stuff. Not just Strange New Worlds to address the new changes to the timeline. Star Trek Discovery Season 3 confirmed the temporal wars introduced in Star Trek Enterprise happened, and Strange New Worlds has now shown the results in the timeline pertaining to Khan. And also, the Xindi Wars were mentioned in Star Trek Beyond, weren't they? Which is like sort of to do with the temporal wars, isn't it? Perhaps dealing with the results of the changes in the timeline, including the new 21st century origin and Canadian citizenship of Khan Noonien Singh, will be a massive story that can span all of Star Trek beyond Strange New World. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's Canadian now anyway, so there we go. So that Canada's got a lot to answer for. Hasn't it? Right, I think we've just one story left to do of my impromptu Star Trek thingamabob. Right, here we go. 11 Star Trek characters who must return in Legacy, and 2 of those I don't think they should, but anyway, never mind. As Star Trek Legacy is intended to continue the story of Star Trek in the 25th century, it's kind of gone a bit quiet, hasn't it, about Star Trek Legacy recently? But we'll see. As Star Trek Legacy is intended to continue the story of Star Trek in the 25th century, there are an endless stream of characters from across the history of the franchise who could appear. Pitched by Terry Matalas as a follow-up to his acclaimed Star Trek Picard Season 3, as we have learned, not so acclaimed anymore. Legacy will follow the adventures of the crew of the USS Enterprise G. Rename it, change it back to the Titan. Commanded by Star Trek Voyager's Captain 7 of 9, Jerry Ryan. The Enterprise G's bridge. I'm not going to call it that. I don't want to call it the Enterprise G. I know it is, but it annoys me. That's the most annoying thing about Star Trek Picard Season 3 for me. Changing the name of the Titan to the Enterprise. Pooh! It's rubbish. It should have been the Titan. The Titan, it was storied enough with the Titan to get an A suffix. So it should have remained that, and should have made the Enterprise G a totally new ship, a new big Explorer class ship, bigger than the Enterprise D, bigger than the E, bigger than the F. It should have been cool, but not ugly like the J. Anyway. Right, where were we? The Enterprise G's bridge crew is made up of Ensign Jack Crusher, Ed Spaliers, special advisor to the captain, and Lieutenant Sidney LaForge, Ashley Sharp Chestnut, cool name, gotta say that every time, who are the children of 3 Star Trek Next Generation legends. 3? What are you talking about here now? Oh, yes, Jack Crusher's of Beverly and Picard, yes. I had to work that out in me slow brain. The weight of history, and obviously LaForge is the daughter of Geordie LaForge. The weight of history and the Enterprise G's bridge is enough to guarantee that there could be regular appearances from characters from Star Trek The Next Generation to Star Trek Voyager and beyond. Star Trek Legacy still hasn't been commissioned, but Alex Kurtzman has identified the undeniable appetite for the Star Trek Picard spin-off. Terry Matalas and Todd Stashwick have both confirmed that Captain Liam Shaw will return in some form, which will be welcome news for fans of the abrasive former captain of the USS Titan A. With a Shaw appeal, I wasn't a huge fan of Shaw, to be honest. He looked like a baddie. Did I thought he might have been Todd Stashwick, a lovely fella. He looks like a baddie. Anyway, with the Shaw appearance a certainty and other TNG legacy characters a strong possibility, there are at least 11 more Star Trek characters that must be a part of the Picard prequel show. Right, off we go. Number 10. I thought you said 11. It's supposed to be 11 more. Why is that at number 10? Stupid people. Alexander, son of Worf. Worf didn't even mention him, did he? When he did his in Picard season 3, when he did his grand introduction, never even mentioned Alexander. Alexander Rozhenko, Mark Warden, was the only TNG offspring not to feature in any of Star Trek Picard's 3 seasons. Now that Captain Worf, Michael Dorn, has returned to Star Trek, the return of Alexander is surely inevitable. Given their difficulties in TNG, it would be fascinating, and not to mention Deep Space Nine, it would be fascinating to see how Worf's more spiritual outlook has impacted his paternal relationship with Alexander. Worf and Alexander would also be the ideal way into exploring the Klingon Empire in Star Trek Legacy, especially now that Star Trek Strange New Worlds brought back the TNG-style Klingons. Oop, press the button then. The Klingon Empire has been largely quiet since the end of the Dominion War, so they're long overdue a visit by the 25th century's Federation. I think they should bring him back, but have him not as Alexander. He's given himself a Klingon name because he's ashamed of his human heritage. I mean, he's only a quarter human, isn't he? He should reappear and as I am Victor, son of somebody else, is adopted. Somebody's made up. But Worf obviously recognises him. You are Alexander, my son. Why did you mention me in your big introduction? Number 9, Alandra LaForge. I thought we were at Alondra. I can't bloody remember. I've seen it as like Alondra, haven't I? Have I? I don't know. Bloody name. Ensign Alandra LaForge, Mika Burton, or is it Micah, deserves a promotion to lieutenant and a role as the new chief engineer of the Starship Enterprise. I don't know. I won't. No, not chief engineer. Not as a lieutenant. I know we have seen lieutenants as chief engineers, but it's the Enterprise, isn't it? You want at least a lieutenant commander. Anyway, while Sydney's continued service aboard the ship, formerly known as the USS Titan A, and still in my heart it's the USS Titan A, was confirmed in the Star Trek Picard finale, it's unclear where Alandra, or was it Alundra? Oh, I can't remember. Or did I keep calling it Alundra? And it's Alandra. I don't know. It's unclear where Alandra is currently based. It's possible that she's still working alongside her father at the Atham Prime Fleet Museum, but the character deserves to spread her wings. She's the most obvious candidate for the chief engineer role in Star Trek Legacy, and it's hoped that if commissioned, the show will recognise this and promote Alandra. Yeah, whatever. Fair enough. I still want to know who else were at the Fleet Museum, because it was massive. Hang on. She can't be chief. Well, I don't know. They'd have to because they should get O'Brien in as captain of engineering. He'd be the chief engineer of the Enterprise. Anyway, Jake Sisko. Oh, as I was saying, how many were on that Fleet Museum? Because it was massive, like a space dock, wasn't it? It was as big as space dock, and that's huge. So surely it wasn't just Geordie LaForge and her rattling about, and Geordie's wife, whoever she was, rattling about in that thing. There'll be thousands of people that work there. Anyway, Jake Sisko. As the Federation rebuilds in the wake of the Changeling/Borg alliance in Star Trek Picard Season 3, the civilian population will need an ace journalist and commentator who has experience of the Dominion War. This is why Jake Sisko, Cyril Lofton, would fit in brilliantly as a recurring character in Star Trek Legacy. Journalism is rarely explored in the Star Trek universe, so a reporter like Jake, who is the son of a Starfleet legend and Bajoran religious icon, Captain Benjamin Sisko, Avery Brooks of the Star Trek Deep Space Nine, could be a great addition to the Legacy cast, pushing the show in uncharted territory for the franchise. Yeah, why not? Why not have Jake appear every now and again? But they need to get Sisko back. Number 7, Dal Rel. Is that how you pronounce it? I can't remember. Star Trek Prodigy Season 2 is cancelled. But no, they've been allowed to finish it. But I don't understand, because apparently they've removed it from the streaming service, Prodigy Season 1, because for tax reasons. And I thought that meant they had to go, they basically phased them on Disintegrate. They're not allowed to see them anymore. If Naomi isn't on this list, we riot. I don't know if she is or not. I did scroll down, but I can't remember who else I saw. To be honest, I don't think she is. So get your riot gear on and start rioting. Naomi Wildman. Anyway, Star Trek Prodigy Season 2 is cancelled, making it difficult for the character to return if a new home on streaming can't be found. This is disappointing, as fans may never found out if Dalrell, Brett Gray, and his young crewmates ever get an official Starfleet commission. Star Trek Legacy could answer that question by bringing in Prodigy showrunners Kevin and Dan Hageman, and perhaps even giving Dal a position aboard the USS Enterprise G under Captain Seven, another protege of Admiral Catherine Janeway, Kate Mulgrew. An appearance by Dal in Star Trek Legacy could also answer if Starfleet ever moves on from their fear of augments. Oh, yeah, because he's been genetically engineered, hasn't he? I forgot about that. I'd forgotten about that. Yeah. But that's when were that? like late 2380s or something, in it, or early 2390s is Star Trek Prodigy. So it's been a few years, because we're in the 25th century now, aren't we? So it could be in Starfleet as a lieutenant or whatever. Anyway, whatever, we'll see. They'd have to age him up a lot. I don't know. As I said, I can't remember when Prodigy is set. It's about, isn't it 2387 or something? I'm sure I've read that. 2387. So it's only like, what, about 15 years, isn't it then? Before Picard season 3. Anyway, Gwendala, another from Star Trek Prodigy. Another Star Trek Prodigy character who should appear in Star Trek Legacy is Gwendala Ella Purnell, because her species, the Vaunacat, is due to make first contact with the Federation in the 25th century. Gwyn left to prepare her people for the revelations that there is life outside their own sheltered world to avoid the devastating civil war that tore their planet apart in the 25th century. Legacy could pick up this story, revealing that the Vaunacat and the Federation made contact much earlier thanks to Gwendala and are now firm allies of the Federation rather than the bitter enemies who turned Starfleet ships against each other. 2384, right? Fair enough. So that's what, 18 years then, into 18 years before Picard season 3, or thereabouts. I can't remember, is it 2501 or 2502? Whatever. 17 and 18 years. Oh God, I don't want these two in. Beckett Mariner and Bradwood Bulmer. Oh, that's why it's 11 characters. They've got a twofer in this. Star Trek Legacy will take place 20 years after the events of Star Trek Lower Decks, so older versions of Ensigns Beckett Mariner, Tawny Newsom, and Bradwood Boimler, Jack Quaid, could appear in the show. Hopefully they'll have made their way out of the lower decks of the USS Cerritos and are now in command of their own starship. God, I bloody hope not. As Boimler and Mariner will make their live-action debut in Star Trek Strange New World Season 2, dreading it, they can easily make other live-action appearances, hopefully in Star Trek Legacy. Dr. Julian Bashir. Moving on. Legacy will be 2402 at minimum. Well, yeah, it would. An appearance by Dr. Julian Bashir, Alexander Siddig, in Star Trek Legacy could finally answer whether he became a member of Star Trek Section 31. I thought, what? But, you never leave, do you? They're always, you can say you've left, but, they'll soon, if they need you, they'll be in touch. Alternatively, Julian could be working under Admiral Beverly Crusher Gates McFadden at Starfleet Medical. Star Trek Prodigy established that Starfleet was starting to explore the Delta Quadrant in the late 24th century, and Bashir always had a fascination with frontier medicine. Perhaps the USS Enterprise G, Titan A, could be dispatched to the far reaches of Federation space to aid a stricken medical ship commanded by Captain Julian Bashir with his wife, Esri Dax. Remember, they had a thing, didn't they, going on at the end of Season 7 of DS9. Number 3, Colonel Kira Nerys, although I'm sure she must be higher than Colonel by now. She must be a general at least. Colonel Kira Nerys, Nana visitor, was left in command of Deep Space Nine after Captain Benjamin Sisko entered the Celestial Temple. It's unclear exactly how relations between the Cardassian Union and Bajor are following the events of the Dominion War. So Kira would be the ideal character to explore this political landscape. I imagine the Federation's basically rebuilding the Cardassia. It'd be like, the Marshall Plan. It'd be something along them lines, won't it? Because it would devastate her, wouldn't it? Cardassia. Anyway. So Kira would be the ideal character to explore this political landscape. Star Trek Picard Season 3 made it very clear that the scars of the Dominion War are yet to heal. So it could be fascinating to dedicate some Star Trek Legacy episodes to the diplomatic relationships between the Federation, Bajorans, and Cardassians. Yeah. Like I said, it'd be interesting, would that? That'd be interesting. But it could deserve its own show, to be honest. That sort of thing. Something, with a similar feel to Deep Space Nine, like Deep Space Nine, the Next Generation sort of thing, couldn't it? with the Federation, obviously the Bajorans basically in charge of Cardassia, sort of. Cardassia essentially becoming a puppet regime, technically independent and doing its own thing, but in obedience to the Federation, basically, who's rebuilt it from because of what happened the Dominion War. I'm waffling, I don't know. Number 2, Voyager's EMH Doctor. Will he ever get a name? Star Trek Voyager's EMH Doctor, Robert Picardo, didn't get his happy ending during the original series, and Star Trek Legacy can finally oblige. It would be interesting to see how Star Trek Picard's synth ban has affected the life of the Doctor. Well, he was not a synth, though. He's a hologram, isn't he? In the period between the USS Voyager's return to the Alpha Quadrant and the start of Star Trek Legacy. I mean, that in Picard, that synth, stupid. They shouldn't have bothered with that. They should have wiped that from history. Hopefully, he's finally been granted the sentient status that he failed to obtain in Voyager's final season. There's plenty of ground that Legacy can cover when it comes to the Doctor, most notably in the holographic rights storylines that Voyager was so good at. As holo technology has advanced, the debate will likely be as hotly contested as ever. Yeah. There's another example of the timeline being changed, by the way. The mobile emitters, which were like now commonplace, which were like 28th century technology, 29th century technology or something, that are now commonplace in the 25th century. Hey, number 1, Admiral Catherine Janeway. Yeah. No, Naomi. Windgrace is smashing his house up now. Star Trek Legacy could benefit from Prodigy's cancellation because Terry Matalas could finally realise his dream of an on-screen reunion between Admiral Janeway and Captain Seven. The reunion had originally been planned for Star Trek Picard Season 3, but budgetary limitations and Janeway's attachment to Star Trek Prodigy made it impossible. Star Trek... Why? Don't understand that. I mean... It's not as if she was like super busy doing Prodigy. It's like bloody voice acting, isn't it? She probably did the whole season in an afternoon. Anyway, Star Trek Legacy should feature Janeway as the lead admiral in contact with Seven and the crew of the USS Enterprise G, sending them on important diplomatic missions in the changing world of Star Trek's 25th century. So for some reason, when I read that, it just reminded me of Charlie's Angels with Janeway being Charlie, sending Seven out on missions. Anyway, these 11 characters, remember there were a two for back there. These 11 characters only scratch the surface of what could be achieved should Star Trek Legacy ever get commissioned. Terry Matalas has promised that the show will continue the story of the last generation while focusing on the next. This creates all manner of exciting possibilities for the characters from across the entire Star Trek franchise to interact with each other in thrilling new adventures that follow Gene Roddenberry's original remit to reflect the political and cultural complexities of the real world. Yeah, and you could add loads more characters, like Windgrace said, Naomi Wildman, Reg Barkley, Chief O'Brien, Miles O'Brien, who else? Other people. The crew of the Voyager, Chakotay. Do we ever get Chakotay back? Because that's in Prodigy. Spoilers for Prodigy. Chakotay's stuck in the... I think it's stuck in the 25th century, isn't it? So maybe they'll just catch up to him then. I think it's 25th century, isn't it? Yeah. So maybe they'll rescue him from the Val. I thought they call them now. What they call them? Val Nakat, or whatever the hell they're called. Where are we? There we go. Val Nakat. That's it. Maybe he'll get rescued from them. But who else could we have? IHS. Echeb. I've always said Icheb, but I've heard people say Echeb, and I think they said Echeb on screen. Anyway, yes, because Picard season 1's not canon. In our hearts. Vorik and Torik have both of them because they're like, are the twins? We had Torik in Next Generation, didn't we? In the Lower Decks episode, the proper Lower Decks episode of Next Generation, that was Torrik. But then he became the same actor, played Vorik in Voyager, didn't he? So I'd said the twins, Vulcan twins, separated at birth. We could have them coming back together. Who else? I don't know. There's loads, isn't there? Have I said Reg Barkley? I probably have, yeah. And let's get Cax is dead. I want to say let's get Scotty back. He's in his shuttle that he just stole. Well, he didn't steal it; we're given it. Anyway, right. So that's it. Anyway, I'm going to call it a draw at that. So, me impromptu Star Trek live stream. It was okay, wasn't it? I've gone on for an hour and 35 bloody minutes about Star Trek anyway. Right, USS Montgomery Scott. Yeah, well, I'm sure they've probably got one of those, haven't they? Yeah. They probably have got one of those. Anyway. Oh, God, I've got a number. Right. Hey, make myself big. Right, we're going to leave it there with me L cars going on. Right, so anyway, thanks, Win Grace, for joining. Hope you had a happy 4th of July, by the way, and you let off lots of fireworks and had lots of fun. And I don't know what you do. Did you have have a barbecue or whatever? Or I don't know what you do. Stuff like that. And yes, you take care. And who else were here? C. Kruger. Yes, thanks for joining in, C. Kruger. You take care as well. And don't worry about the eugenics wars. It'll be fine. That's it. Nobody else joined in, did they? What else? Well, I'm going to say something. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, never mind. Yes, I was saying 4th of July. So I hope you had a nice celebration. We've had a thing on the news today that I didn't even know was happening. The King Charles III, has been to Scotland for like a second coronation sort of thing. Given the Scottish crown jewels. That were on the news. And all I could hear, I put it on, and there was a news reporter there saying, the King will arrive soon. And all I could hear in the background were people shouting, not my King, which made me laugh. It was amusing. Anyway, right, so we'll leave it there. So, thanks for watching, wherever you are. Look after each other, and until next time, I'll see you there.